town, Beijing, and the riders now heading there tomorrow for the finish of the end of the World Tour Series, the Tour of Beijing. This is the Tour of Beijing. It is the final World Tour event of 538 kilometers. Covers the 5 days of racing. Today we are on the Queen Stage, the mountains itself, which abound here to the west, to the northwest, northeast and the north of this beautiful modern and ancient city. Capital of China. This is the 1-2 group. Riders passing through the city road, also catching up with one times as we move on into the mountains today to finish outside the Yaofeng temple after a ride of 150 kilometers today, including the first mountaintop finish in the history of the short of the mountain, climbing up to this ancient temple. These are all the beautiful pictures of the districts that will encompass the 5 days of cycling. Shunyi, the healthy growing centre, is where it all started out with stage number 1. As we went around the countryside, looking here at the breakaway yesterday, as we catch up with the story so far. This was the end of the 3rd stage yesterday. As always, an early morning breakaway establishing itself, 6 riders up front. Some stunningly beautiful pictures as we left the mountains behind us, the 6 riders being chased down by the vast majority of the peloton. Then a group of about 15 riders caught up to make a leading bunch, but the peloton were pretty close behind. Last climb of the day, the last opportunity to try and break the grip of a very tenacious peloton in this year's Tour of Beijing. 2 days already being won by the sprinters, Thor Hushovd and Nasser Boyani, and now it's Boyani who wears the red jersey there. Adam Hansen, as they were all swept up, Hansen made his move, but he was caught at the start of the final 3rd category climb of the day. The Australian on the Lotto Belisol team wiped out by the peloton, which had grouped to about 60 riders strong as they charged down towards the finish in Shijitian. Even Tony Martin tried a lone escape. He really wanted the red jersey, which he's made his these past 2 years. He's the only man ever to have won the Tour of Beijing. And this was his chance to try and get rid of the peloton and escape for just a few seconds. That's all he needed to convert his 10 seconds overnight deficit into a lead. But they were aware of his danger and they chased him hard. And the champion of Australia, Luke Durbridge, was the first man to catch him up. Then followed a series of attacks, but it all came to naught as the riders raced down towards the finish. The red jersey now, Nasser Boyani, sprinter, was finding himself in with a chance on what was a difficult mountain stage. The sprint was opened up in favour of the green jersey of Alessandro Petacchi, who's in a perfect position. But when it came down to the final push to the line, he couldn't move out the shadow of his teammate as the field started to wrap around him. All of the time it was looking as though the red jersey was out of it, and then squeezing through on the inside, taking over from the last rider in front of him. Boyani claimed his 2nd win in as many days and his 11th win of the season. He becomes one of only 3 riders to have won more than 1 stage of the Tour de Beijing. Historically, the other 2 are Tony Martin and Elia Viviani in the lime green there, who had to be content with only a place this time. So overall, the victory margin, first of all, let me show you the result of yesterday. Boyani beating the sprinter Michael Matthews. Alexei Sachevich was in 3rd place. Elia Viviani getting 4th. The red jersey now on the shoulders of Boyani, 11 seconds ahead of Michael Matthews, and basically 20 seconds ahead of the field. And this is where we are on our way today, having left Yanqing, heading underneath the Great Wall at Badaling, where the riders have been lodging for a couple of days. We're now out on a circuit of the mountains here. Stunningly beautiful. The weather is chilly, overcast, but no signs of rain. We're going to pick up the action as they race towards the 3rd category climb of the day. towards the finish. We still have the finish climb itself, which is first category. This is before they all set off today, with the man in red, basically a sprinter, now facing up to the hilliest stage that indeed the Tour of Beijing has ever known, as he signs in along with the other riders here. Michael Rogers of Australia, could be a day for him now. This is when they all start to think of victory today. Steve Cummings, fourth in the very first Tour of Beijing 2 years ago. The new leader in the King of the Mountains there, Caruso, Damiano Caruso, built a big lead in the breakaway yesterday. Ivan Basso there, his teammate, handing the pen politely in. A big favourite here now is Dan Martin. Adam Hansen, the lone escaper towards the end yesterday, didn't win in the day, but it was a good day for him. Lotto Belisol, 3 days running, have had the last escaper to be caught. Richie Port, very legible signature from Richie there from Tasmania, amongst the men expected to challenge today. As all the riders come in, number 1 signs in. The defending champion for the past 2 years, Tony Martin. And as always, our traditional drums of China. It's the year of the snake, by the way, this year in the Chinese New Year listing. Movistar become the comedians of the signing in board here, and have done this every morning. They're all fighting to sign in each other's name. And there we are, in stereo. Very clever too. The world champion also on Movistar is Rui Costa, the first Portuguese cyclist to win the World Championship. Did so well just 2 weeks ago in Florence, and now working out his own signature. All the riders who finished yesterday, 7 of them didn't, have taken the start. A little bit out of unison with the pistol today, but we're all underway as we now leave Yanqing for the last time. They've seen a lot of this Tour of Beijing this last couple of days. They're now heading to the mountain above Montogo of Miaofang Temple. A place where the race has never been before. It is a difficult climb to the finish, especially for the last 6 kilometers or so of the climb. It is quite steep, and remember, with 20 seconds covering the first 50 riders in the race, it really is going to be a battle of the last climb, even though there is a breakaway on at the moment, and we'll catch you up with that in a few moments' time as the field riding away here from Yanqing. Neutralised formation for the 142 riders left in the event. Tomorrow they'll be downtown Beijing and lapping the Olympic Park in the shadow of the famous cube, the water cube, and the Bird's Nest Stadium, made famous by the tremendous Olympic Games that the Chinese put on here in Beijing in 2008. Well, this is where we have been, Yanqing, in this department for a couple of days now. It's very cycling friendly as well. There's 300 kilometers of cycle trails around the town itself, while as soon as you leave the town, this is the beauty that faces you in the mountains as we now begin to climb our way up these mountains on very narrow twisting roads, but great credit to the Chinese, the roads are in magnificent condition. Changping, also another area that we have visited, as we will continue our journey here of the areas outside of the plains of Beijing city itself, home to in all 21 million people. But the blue skies not with us again today. After day 1 we lost the lovely blue skies, but the temperature is holding. It was a bit chilly at the start, and it's chilly but not cold at the top of the mountain, which is standing over 2,000 meters above sea level. This is the area of Montogo, where we come today through the bustling city itself, which is commercialized now, trying to catch up with the modern world of industry as well as maintain its ancient history past. As you will see when they come up towards the finish, that's exactly what we have, with the temple that abounds on the top in Miaofang. And we're on the Miaofang mountain here high above Montogo as we now start to gaze down on the race itself. These are the leaders at the sprint, which came after 31 kilometers as Zdeněk Stybar Omar Farmer Quickstep getting the better of Benya in Southsea. Moritz Lamertink third place there. Small bonuses. The breakaway was on. In Southsea though, desisted and fell back, while his teammate Gutierrez handled the first category climb and got the 12 points ahead of Lamertink, Steibar, and coming up to them, Damiano Caruso, the leader in the King of the Mountains, 4 points for him, up with his teammate there, Daniela Ratto. They've joined the leaders now. And the other mountain we've crossed, the second category one, which is just gone at 75 kilometres. Caruso here sealing his victory, I think, in the King of the Mountains, getting the 8 points here, because none of the other riders are close to him in the overall. And here at the second sprint of the day, Gutierrez getting a 3 seconds time bonus. Now the Movistar team believe that this is going to be won on bonuses this year, and so the 3 seconds might be valuable from Steibar and Caruso, and Vandenberg also in the breakaway now, getting the 4th place. So they've gone through the 92 kilometre mark. And now we can catch up with the 6 riders in the lead for the first time. And the King of the Mountains jersey being worn here while Caruso was taking the lead in the King of the Mountains jersey. The man he was deposing, Thomas de Gent of the Vacansoleil team, was retiring from the race, finding his earlier efforts the previous day proving just that little bit too much. But now we have these riders on the front, and it is the Belkin rider at the moment who is pushing on. Not very coordinated just now as we get our first glimpse of them. Peloton, not surprising this, being led now by the team of Garmin Sharp, because with Dan Martin, that's their ace card for the finish. The climb will certainly suit the Irish rider on the American squad, and also Saxo Tinkoff working well too, possibly here to try and get Michael Rogers into the thick of things towards the end, and the white jersey of AG2R now possibly working for Romain Bardet. We're not talking sprinters anymore. This is the decisive stage for sure of this year's Tour of Beijing. Just sat at the back at the moment with his pockets full of drinks by the look of it is Steve Cummings of Team BMC, having a job hanging on to the tail of the peloton, because they are actually flying along here now. They were covered just on 50 kilometres in the opening hour of racing today, so they're coming through on the fastest possible time on a day we thought they might have made a more gentle approach to the mountains, but not to be the case at all. This is going to be a long day out for some of these riders now. The only big climb remaining of the day is the climb up to the finish. The men in black there with the numbers obscured because they've got extra jerseys on, but I think they'll be shedding those shortly. Good racing roads today as well, and once they turn into the natural park gates, they'll start the steady approach towards the finishing climb, which gradually gets steeper all the way to the summit, and we will be treated to some stunning views from the helicopter and indeed from the temple itself on the summit, which dates back to the 16th century. See by the faces here, there will be a little bit of concern about the move by Movistar. I was surprised that Benya Intausti, who was in the breakaway and was chasing bonuses, because I said earlier that Movistar feel that these bonus seconds out on the course might still decide this race amongst the leaders at the end of the day, dropped back soon after the sprint and left his teammate Gutierrez as the man to continue the attack. There's the first time check we've seen, 1 minute and 45 seconds. So this is Moreno Hofland of the Belkin team. These riders all getting together on the lower slopes of the first category climb, which came at 60 kilometers into the race today. Just stalking up the outside is Jose Ivan Gutierrez here. He's going for the sprint. He really is chasing these bonuses, but this time he's going to find Hofland is taking over the running here, and it's a good sprint by the Dutchman, as he's going to hang on, and Gutierrez will not be happy about that, because he's beaten Lamertink of Vacances Soleil. So that takes us to the 105 kilometer mark, 45 kilometers still to go. And these bonuses, the hill may yet decide, but even so, they've got to keep chasing these bonuses, because there's so many riders within 20 seconds of the overall leader that these seconds could make all of the difference to a high finish. And that is why Gutierrez has been chasing them, because he can climb towards the end of the day. The world champion passing through our lens, Rui Costa, today that could suit him if they keep this breakaway within reach, and certainly at a minute 45 it is well within reach of the peloton moving up. 125, it's come down that little bit at that sprint point. First time we've seen Marco Hofland in a move. This is right at the rear of the peloton here. Michael Golas dropping back, possibly to pick up food and water for his team, because now this race is really under pressure. You can see by the speed he's pedaling, it's going to be very difficult to drop back to the team cars today. Everybody's going to be lining themselves up for a real crack at this last climb, which is 11 kilometers long, bringing them right up to the summit of Miaofang, and a final height of 1,000 meters right on the top of the road climb. The mountain itself goes over 2,000. Time to wind down just a little bit here at the moment. Zdeněk Štejbar, former world cyclocross champion, and in the breakaway here, 2 Grand Tours to his credit. Both times they've been the Vuelta a España, but he froze himself out of the race this year on the road to Périgueux, which was crossing from Spain into France. A very, very cold day, wiped out a lot of riders in the Vuelta a España. He was one of them. Hidden beneath the trees now, the peloton in the Tour of Beijing. The last big, long road race stage out in the open countryside before we race on the circuit tomorrow downtown in Beijing. And the riders know that the winner tonight should be able to defend tomorrow on flat roads. Team AG2 are in a very good race tactically all week. Now seeing if they can play their final cards today. Jean Perrault, rider setting the pace for them at the moment. Now Xing wants his service car at the back. Riders calling for the cars now. This is a sign of the calm before the storm here, sorting themselves out, giving in their capes, which they were keeping warm with. We've had no rain, but it was chilly at the start today. Number 23 there, just coming up on the outside. Bosic in the sprint yesterday, almost pulled it off as well, till he got passed on the inside by Buani. It's always a busy time at the back of the peloton in amongst the cars at this stage of the race now, because they're settling down for the last 40 kilometres. But it's not like a normal sprint finish today, so they're going to wait a little bit longer than normal perhaps before they chase down this small breakaway. Gutierrez will have other plans up there, and so will Caruso. Caruso's done enough to win the King of the Mountains now, although there are 2 climbs to come. One's a 3rd category climb, and the last climb itself will carry points today, right to on the finishing line. But Caruso has enough of a buffer over the rest of the riders in that breakaway. He doesn't need to score any points to win the title, which ends today, of course. There's no hills down on the plains of Beijing city itself. Looking down on Luke Durbridge in that white jersey with the green and yellow stripe on it, champion of Australia. Almost delivered Michael Matthews to the first place yesterday. He finished 2nd. He was riding in the green jersey today, which is on loan from the race leader Buani, also riding of course in the red jersey. Nice study in motion here, concentration on these riders. This is the Chinese rider still from Argus Shimano, Zhang. He needs to get into the slipstream of the riders in front and try and move forward as fast as he can, because this race is actually going very quickly now. Even though these riders are dropping back, they're making a bit of a meal of rejoining the peloton. I'm not surprised. Rider in front of him is Viviani, the sprinter, but he hasn't sprinted quite as well as he's done in the past in this race. He's previously won 2 stages, but now it looks like he's the water boy, the Gregario, because he's now scuttling up to the front with his pockets full of water for his teammates. So Hofland, Launapintink and Steibob was the result. This is the composition of the breakaway. Stein Vandenberg, Caruso, Gutierrez and Lamertink. Lamertink and Gutierrez have been in the break all day. So too is Steibob. The others have joined them on the 1st category climb. Hofland coming up. That's the result of the sprint we've just seen, ahead of Lamertink and Steibob. Those 3 riders getting small bonus seconds, 3, 2, 1. 4th place rider just gets points in the green jersey competition. Caruso not too interested in sprinting. He wants to keep that polka dot jersey now all the way to the finish. "40 kilometres to go. The last 11 are uphill. It's 1 small climb before we go over that. That comes in about 8 kilometres time, the 3rd category climb. And I would think by then the peloton will want to be in reasonably close proximity. This is Caruso here chatting with Jose Ivan Gutierrez. 2, one Spanish, one Italian, and trying to sort out tactics. Rival teams, but different objective today. And the Movistar rider definitely of the opinion the seconds he's been chasing could make all of the difference. It's a 10-second win bonus, but of course today it's on top of the mountain. and there should be real time gaps as well. The world champion down there having a drink, 121, Rui Costa. Not a known mountain climber, but I don't think he'll have a lot of problem with the finishing climb today. Buani still down there in that red jersey, always his faithful Finnish team champion in front of him there, Jussi Veikkonen. He seems to be the dedicated man to keep a close eye on him throughout the stage, make sure he stays out of trouble, and then hand him over to the teammates who lead him out for the sprints. All sounds very simple, but of course it's not. He's proved to be a good leader, and what a great season he's having. 11 wins this year. That's the most of any Frenchman. There's Veikkonen just in the white jersey in front of him. Well, there's no doubt that this group of riders now are really moving quite quickly just now. A lot of gaps between the wheels, and it is Saxo Tinkoff trying to bring this race to heel before we get over the last two climbs. Stein Vandenberg in the breakaway. His only victory remains the Tour of Ireland. But he is an extremely strong rider and well respected in the team. Sprinter Kenny Van Hummel on Vacances-Soleil hasn't been quite breaking into the front echelon of the sprints, but he's been finishing in the top 10. But he certainly won't enjoy the ride today, and he's sitting right down the back of the peloton here at the moment. It's a long peloton today. There'll be a lot of nervous riders down there just now. Little sweep of the mountains now, which are on the shoulders of the riders for the rest of the day, and that isn't the actual finishing climb, but it's that style of climb that they will face when they come through Montaigu and then start to climb up towards the temple at the top. No wind at all, still autumn-like conditions here today. That's why the mist has stayed a little bit around the mountains. It's always a worry in this part, especially as the way we cover cycling live is to use helicopters, and they can't fly if the mist comes too thick. But fingers crossed, pictures are excellent, and the mist is staying away. Everybody thinking what might be at the moment, not least the world champion Rui Costa. Maxime Bouet alongside him there. We saw him escape and gain 9 seconds in bonus, which has put him right up at the top in the overall classification, not far behind the leader. He's in 3rd place overall. I think he'll climb better than Buani as well. You can see by the breakaway here, they've got reason to race today. They, like everybody else, knows the time, the gaps between them will decide this tour. And they're working. Vandenberg, 2nd year with Amiga Pharma Quick Step, hasn't won a race since he won that Tour of Ireland, which takes him back quite a long time ago now, just after he turned pro in 2007 when he won the Tour of Ireland. Running alongside one of the freeways, if you stay inside heading for the hills now. Vandenberg comes back, Hofland swings off the front. Lamertink, Steibar, everybody doing their turn of work here. Into the district now of Montaugu. 93% of this district is mountains. And very beautiful mountains, although they're obviously building on the town itself and commercializing and building factories and places for people to live. They actually have a protection policy in place for the greenery to remain that way around this town, which is to be applauded, I think, because it's very ancient history in these mountains with the temples and the wildlife. And we'll get our view of that as we climb up today towards the finish. Well, if you're not going to win the race, this, I'm afraid, is your alternative workload today, as Jean-Christophe Perrault, former champion of France, great mountain bike rider, by the way, and he shows the road cyclists how to ride races too. He's finished 9th in the Tour de France, scuttling back up towards the peloton. The Olympic rings down to our left there. A little bit of memory of the 2008 games in the Beijing area. Well, we tried to show you a little bit of a move coming off the breakaway there. When the picture stops like that, it's not actually us doing anything or your television. It's a situation where the camera sensors sense the picture is to be lost, so they freeze it and then it releases again. All the signals coming from motorbikes below to the helicopters riding above the race. High enough not to affect the riders. That's often been a cause of complaint. If they come too low, the rotor's downdraft, doubles the workload. A bit of a chat going on between the two teammates here. Number 5 is Steiber, and the other side is Vandenberg. Steiber from the Czech Republic, Stijn Vandenberg from Belgium. I suspect the language is English that they're speaking. Lamertink is the Vacansoleil rider, and Gutierrez, who's the old hand of this race. He's 34 years of age now, but he's already agreed to ride next year for the Movistar team. There he is, and he's ridden 14 Grand Tours in his career. Very solid rider, and he might well be either the distraction or the secret weapon for Movistar today to try and snatch victory. He's made the move. Caruso here has got that polka dot jersey now. He can start thinking of trying to win the stage. He rode exceptionally well yesterday, and quite clearly no overnight fatigue from it either. Saxo Bank continue to try and chase down this breakaway. They're struggling at the moment. We haven't had a time check for some time, so I can't really tell you what the gap is. Because of the mountains, we're having difficulty getting the radio tour coming from the race to us, which is still across the mountains on the other side. But it's quite apparent what is going on here. And it's the climbers teams now who are trying to play cards. So still 1 3/4 minutes we're hearing now, 1:45 seconds, so they're not getting any closer despite the apparent hard work being done at the front of the race. This is the 6 leaders coming together on the climb, first category climb, which was before we came on television, and the latest gaps now come down, so it is having some effect. 1:27 seconds at the moment for these 6 riders. Sat at the back is Jose Ivan Gutierrez, and number 33 there is the youngster on the Belkin team, Moreno Hofland. 2 riders here from Amiga Pharma Quickstep are Zdeněk Steibar, World Cyclocross champion twice on 2 occasions, and Stein Vandenberg, his teammate, and Moritz Lammertink of the Vacances Soleil. Well, this is not a good time to drop back at the moment here. This is Wouter Mol of the Netherlands on Argus Shimano, the team which is having a tremendous season this year. And on Sunday they had the other team riding in the Paris Tour last one-day classic races of the year, and they won it with the young German sprinter John Degenkolb. So he's landed a big victory there, making steady progress at the top level now. Gear problem here, very, very precarious job too. And it looks like maybe a bike change coming on here. Oh, they're saying it's Albert Timo. It is, it's 166. I misread his number. Timo is the so-called tactician in the race here. He's the man that's guiding the youngsters on the Argus Shimano team. He's got the experience. He was in the breakaway yesterday as well for much of the day. Now he's decided to take a bike. These bikes are all set up for the riders, so they know which bike to give them, and they've got the same position on them that they were racing on the old bike. But they don't have a transponder on this bike, which means that wherever he finishes, his number won't be immediately recorded, but they'll sort it out. Well, it's quite clear that Saxo Tinkoff, as they bring it down to 67 seconds here, have got a plan. And I just would think it's to try and get Michael Rogers into the thick of the action. The Australian's having a very good season at 33 years of age. Just following the main freeway here as it heads north. But for us, we go inland onto much more narrow roads as we wend our way up towards the last climb of the day. We've got this 1/3 category climb, which is not a very steep climb, and it can't be very far away either just now for the 6 leaders. Gutierrez now shaking out the legs there, but riding at the back more often than not, and I wonder if he knows he might be the springboard man for the Movistar team, and expect to be joined by somebody perhaps a little more efficient as they start the last climb of the day. He might be sent forward to be an early pacemaker if he is brought up to try and accelerate the attack. They definitely had a plan at the start this morning. Spanish squad are very, very clever riders tactically. Jesus Herrera is the Spanish champion and a good climber as well, king of the mountains this year in the Santos Tour Down Under, and this is how you stretch that muscle out. A bit of a problem for Gutierrez. It's inside a minute for the first time for a long time since we topped the first King of the Mountains of the day, the first category climb. comes down much more than that, the peloton are going to begin to see those 6 riders, and it's going to come not long before they go over this little blimp, 3rd category climb. Still it's Hutrovic setting the pace for AG2R at the front of the peloton, but look at the riders behind now, all looking for their teammates, riding as a group, each and every one of them. Saxo Tinkoff are the team which are really distinguishing themselves in those dark blue jerseys to the right of our picture. All of the climbers on the teams are gone. We've had an attack from the front. Looks like Steibar has gone from the front of the group. No, it's not. It is the other rider in the breakaway. No, it is an attack by Steibar. We'll check it out when we get up there. No, there's Steibar there, so it must be Vandenberg who's gone. And they've reacted here. Caruso just wants to make sure the next 3rd category climb's only worth a few points, but 5 points is better than none, and he wouldn't have to worry about the last climb of the day. But Vandenberg, this is an interesting move by Stein Vandenberg. Haven't really seen him ride like this since he won the Tour of Ireland back in 2007. But this is going to cause a big reaction. This could have been what they were talking about. We saw them talking, Vandenberg and Steibar. Now he's looked over his shoulder. He's found the first move has worked. Just gone through on the 25 kilometers to go marker. And welcome to the finishing town of Montougu. But it is up the mountain for the first time ever. This has been the finish before, and it was here where Tony Martin won last year on day 2 on his own, and never relinquished the red jersey to the finish. But this is a different course this year. So we'll see the town, and then we'll climb the mountain dead ahead. So Stein Vandenberg setting the pace. Turned professional in 2007, and by the end of the year in August he'd won the overall classification of the stage race Tour of Ireland, and then he moved away from what was the then team Unibet.com to join AG2R, the team that's working behind him just now. Went to the Russian team Katusha for 3 years, and then last year he joined Omega Pharma Quickstep, and he's never won a race joining any of these teams he's ridden for. Saxo Tinkoff brought it down now to 53 seconds. The one man they're interested in keeping nice and fresh will be the Australian Michael Rogers. And if we are going to get a surprise from that team, it could well come from the other Australian having his first year with Saxo, and that's Rory Sutherland, who lives in the United States in Boulder and used to ride for United Healthcare, but he impressed so much last year that Saxo Tinkoff signed him up for this season. Well, Stein Vandenberg has really broken up the race here, because that could well be Gutierrez trying to get across to him. It's not Gutierrez, because he's down there with Caruso and Steibar, so those three. So there's another rider still trying to reach him, so it can only be probably Lamatink, similar colours, Vacon Soleil. It's interesting they've allowed this break to split up like this, because once they disintegrate, it's usually a sure sign that they're going to lose ground. Desperate moments by Steibar, who's not far away now from the small 3rd category climb, which is not what his main object is. He wants to be onto the big climb of the day, which comes 11 kilometers from the finish. Now we're getting close up on the mountains here. They have nature trails and walks all over these mountains, but plenty of warning signs. Don't get lost in the interior, because once you're in the darkness of the day here, it is very dark. There's no lights around at all, as we found out ourselves leaving the mountain region last night at after 10 o'clock at night. Black as pitch, and no road signs, so you've just got to work out where the city of Beijing is. That's our destination today, Miaofeng Mountain. And the temple sits right on the top, just up from the finishing line today. Well, interesting move, and it was a discuss move with Steibar to become the distraction of the day. Vandenberg, the lone figure down there. He's moving pretty quickly too, because the second rider who's chasing him hasn't caught him up yet, which I think is Lamatink, or possibly Hofland rather, Moreno Hoffman. This is the slight climb up here, and it might well be the third category climb. It's not very hard, it's not very long. "29 years of age now, Vandenberg. Best ever finish in a one-day classic, by the way. He was second in the opening classic of the year, Het Nieuwsblad, this year. So he had a good start to the year, and he was a protected rider at the start of the year as well. So he obviously had good early season form. We're just trying to get our pictures to behave on the side of the Miaofeng mountain at the moment. Here's the peloton as they start to wind their way towards the finish as well. It's still a long way. And as we've seen for these last 3 days of racing, tenacious peloton all hanging in there. Broke down to about 45, 50 riders finishing together yesterday on what we call an average mountain stage. So 100 meters to the summit of the climb here. That's the first time we've seen that. So the leader is over the top, Vandenberg, and they've just picked up Lamatink, so he's back in the peloton. So the rider that was chasing has to be Moreno Hofland. There we are, 20 meters to go. Well, he's not very far ahead of the peloton either, is he now, as we've seen, but he's nonetheless, for what it's worth, he gets the 5 points here over the climb. Leaves him now just on 21 kilometers to go to the finish, and they're telling us 20 kilometers, so he's over the top. Well, this is a very interesting move. He's probably the last name he would have thought about as a likely winner of this race. He has trouble climbing the big mountains, but he's going to find out this one's a tough one, and it's not too far ahead of him now. 9 kilometers to the start of the finishing climb. The peloton are not that far behind him, and it's quite a bridgeable gap once the climbers hit the slopes. It starts very gently. It doesn't even look like a climb for a couple of kilometers on a TV camera, but it is, and it gets steeper. Vandenberg ridden the Tour de France twice. He got eliminated the last time he rode back in 2010, and his only other attempt when he finished in Paris was in 2009. But he's on one of the top teams of not just the year, but in the sport. A And that very briefly was the entrance into the park here as we went underneath the arches. And it looks as though Nicholas Mace there has decided to call it a day. He's dropped right back. He wasn't going back for bottles. The pace is on. He's had some good places in the final sprints on the flats, but he's not interested in the mountains, only a youngster. His teammate though is up front. No sign of that chaser behind now, so if anything, Vandenberg has gone clear, and I think that peloton is snapping right on the heels of the remnants of the breakaway. There's a time check for him. He kind of took a look at it, but he wasn't too interested. Well, the peloton is below us, and I think you could just about see him on the left of the road. It looks to me as though they've wiped out everybody, and they have at 17 seconds, so we've only got the one leader now as we're approaching the final climb of the day. The peloton seems to have got it right again here, which will now give the climbers a chance to show their talents, but who's going to be the first to break? It is a long climb. It doesn't twist and hairpin like the climbs we had yesterday. Long straight escarpment roads where you can see the finish on your left shoulder as you climb steadily up. It does look a bit daunting, I must say, because it kicks up quite steeply towards the end. Stein Vandenberg knows that they're coming. And there they are. All massing for the last attack of the day. And it could be the attack that wins the Tour of Beijing. Time is of the very essence today. We've shadow boxed for 3 days with the sprinters. The time bonus has been of the essence. They've decided who wears yellow, or sorry, in this case, the red jersey of leader. He's eased off the pedals now. There's no point in going on. He's save a little bit of energy for the finishing climb. Now this is going to be the most interesting part. As they start to mass here, we can expect to see a number of attacks. Movistar bringing them up first of all. Belkin are here. They have a good team leader in Hessink, Robert Hessink, who will be looking for a move today. Former winner of the Amgen Tour of California. Beautiful sweeping road. We're still a little way from the actual climb. Just sitting on the back here is Boris Bosic. He's not a climber, he's a sprinter. He'll just stay there, I would think, as best he can. Now for the last 3 days we've seen number 81 sat at the back here, but not today. That's Dan Martin, and this is the day he's been waiting for to try and play his card. So we expect to see Dan Martin put in an attack today. It's his big chance. And once again they really are piling on this climb. There's the world champion, very, very handily placed for an attack here in that white jersey. Also coming up on the outside, his team at BMC, the Americans, in Matthias Frank. They've got a very good candidate for victory here. He's had a great season, Matthias Frank, member of the team with the red jersey on, 4th this year in the Amgen Tour of California. He went to his home tour, finished 5th in the Tour of Switzerland, a race he led for 6 days. Then he won a couple of stages in the nearby Tour of Austria, and he finished up with 2nd overall in August's USA Pro Challenge based in Colorado. So he's absolutely in good condition to win the Tour of Beijing. And that will surely be the rider that BMC are riding for today. because of the nature of these roads, the approach, it's probably the last 7 kilometers when the final push will come from the talented climbers. It's not quite the place to be, I must confess, here for Jos van Emden. He's just pushing his way back up to the back of the peloton. As we take a good look at the faces of the men, the workhorses of the teams now, to keep this tempo high, stop anybody breaking off the front. Luke Durbridge on the left of the road there in that white jersey is champion of Australia, just happy to keep tempo. Cameron Meyer, possibly the rider at Orica Green Edge, are looking to try and get up into the mix. This is the back of the field once more. Well, Movistar have come out fighting here. There's no doubt about this. The Spanish setup have played cards today. They had 2 men up front at one stage. One dropped back into the pack. I didn't see it, but I think we just passed the start of the King of the Mountain sign on the left of the road, in which case we're on the finishing climb, 15 kilometers from the finish. I'm sorry about the pictures. We will capture them again as fast as we can. Let's show you the route for the moment. So this is where we are at the moment. We've made that turn at the top of our picture, or we will be shortly. The green spot is where we start the climb, and that's where we've just come through now. As there's only one spot, it means we are all together, and they're massing here at high speed, but this won't go on for much longer. Somebody, when they're waiting for the road to start to bite, just now it is barely going up, and it's very good road surface, it's very fast riding tempo, but just look at the effort being put in by these riders as they all hold the pressure on. These are the workhorses on the team, just hoping that when they do pull off the front, it's their team leader, the climber, who will be able to continue the attack. And I'm just wondering what part Rui Costa's going to play in this, the world champion in white. But the way they're riding it, they're expecting Rui Costa to try and win the stage today, the world champion, so he must be feeling pretty good. There is a view of the temple. This is partially up the mountain. It's not the one that we're going to finish by. Well, when you go back to the 16th, 17th century, you do pose the question, how on earth did they build these temples? We're a lot lower down than that. They will actually see that temple as they wind their way up on their shoulder. And the good road surface contributing to keeping these riders together at the moment. If there'd been a rough surface, they'd be clattering off a little bit. But it looks as though Jay McCartney of the USA has decided enough is enough, as he drops back there for Saxo Tinkoff. This is Yan Dongjing on the Argus Shimano squad, just trying to hold on to the coattails of Boris Bosic. Jos van Emden just in front of him. Argus Shimano again piling on the pressure here. I'm not too sure who they are actually racing for, Argus Shimano, because they haven't really got an outstanding climber on the squad, but they're certainly willing to take part at the front just now. Well, at these sort of speeds on the lower slopes of the climb, which is very gentle just at the moment, this race is going to crack wide open on the final 7.5 kilometers, and then it climbs all the way to the finishing line. That's where we are now, heading up towards that top bend. Well before that top bend is where the climb actually starts to bite, and it looks as though the tempo riding now is beginning to tell on the riders as well. From Garmin Sharp, we're losing Jakob Rath of the USA as well. And just for the moment, we'll just keep tracing them on the road here while we get the pictures back. And now take a look at the tail of the peloton. All of a sudden, the legs have said enough is enough as groups of riders are falling off the back. But the climbers and the pacemakers are still very much there, and nobody off the front of the race yet as they continue. And somebody, that's the first tentative move, and it's come from Vacances as they've gone on the right of the road here. Now that's the start of the in-fight. Remember that if there's a time gap at the top and a lone winner today, I think that will be enough for whoever does it to be the winner of this race tomorrow, and they all know that, and that's why they're all marking each other so closely. This is the battle of the mountain here at Miaofang. And it's a shame our pictures are not behaving themselves, but they'll come back. Andrea Pellini here in the group, detached now from the back markers. And Gutierrez sitting in the back group here. He has been dropped on the climb. So too has Caruso. Done enough though to be the winner of the King of the Mountains tomorrow. We continue to push on the climb. One rider away, Vacances. So Vacances on the front at the moment. The first cards have been played, but it is Team Radio Shack who has closed this one down on the climb now. The American squad that will change their name next year. So as they're coming through now, well, this is the back group here. This is the back group here, and this is the polka dot jersey of Caruso, but he's happy enough to see them ride away on a climb today now. He'll win the King of the Mountains tomorrow. There's no more climbs around Beijing. It's pan flat for the last stage. These riders now picking up tempo. Now there's a move on the left here. Team Saxo Bank are moving forward, and so too I can see Jesus Herrera of Spain and Movistar coming forward, the champion. Belkin also getting in the mix here, and I think the rider tucked in the shadow there is Robert Hessink, their favourite. So just looking here at the race now, we're watching the men at the head. Ivan Basso, the fourth rider in the line. That is interesting position for Basso. He came out of the Tour of Spain like so many riders, suffering from the weather conditions. When he was riding very, very well, he was very unhappy to have to abandon. Now he's looking for revenge, perhaps. There is the red jersey. He's lost pace with the peloton now, so the vacancy is now flying for the next wearer of the red jersey, as the climbers use their teammates to try to get to grips with the last climb of this race, the climb of Miao Feng Mountain. Gritting his teeth there, Robert Guessing, third in line. He knows the pressure is on him to do a good performance. I can see Dan Martin not too far away down the line as well. Ivan Basso. Movistar, who had a plan, have certainly lost control for the moment because they haven't got a man up here at all in this front group. Finding the pacemaking just a little bit too quick for them. Meanwhile, the red jersey with his teammates who've looked after him for 2 days now know that this one isn't to be. Joe Dombrowski up here for Team Sky. Belkin are certainly playing their cards here with 4 riders ready, and they're setting a very quick tempo. If we were to see the back of this peloton now, I don't think we're going to see too many riders left in it as they continue to climb. The road does twist, but it's largely good straight roads as well. As we started to pull back, I thought we might have seen the temple up on the right hand side there. About 40 riders, maybe not quite so many left in this front group. And the Lotto Belisol rider there cracked right in the middle. There he is on the right of the road, completely gone to the back. And there'll be a few riders not enjoying that left opening of the door. Matt Premier on the right here as we drop back. 3 riders on the champion system team. All lost ground now. And the Belkin team also beginning to use up their pacemakers. The 2 top riders on Belkin are here in Wilco Kelderman and Robert Hessink. They'll be the last 2 standing for the team to see if they can do it. Kelderman, terrific young rider for the future. And an amazingly big peloton to handle this sort of tempo just at the moment. Adam Hansen still here too, riding very well for Lotto Belisol. About 7 men back in the line behind the 2 riders in black. The twists and turns at Miao Feng Mountain as we now start to get much steeper here now. And this sort of a tempo will not be easy to maintain as the road starts to continue like this. This is when I think we might start to see a flurry of attacks from riders to try and break up the peloton completely. It's been an incredibly quick climb up this mountain, and the race has actually been very, very quick all day, way ahead of schedule. Interestingly enough, the skies have cleared in the last half hour. The sun is out on the riders. It's not actually out on the finishing line, which is tucked under the shadow of the mountain itself. Go back much further down the road now to riders who are being unhitched. Martin Neymans is 116. Also Steve Cummings dropped there, finished 4th in the first Tour of Beijing a couple of years ago, but there were no mountains in that event. As the race has become a part of the international calendar at the highest level, the route has become much more ambitious, and we're now seeing the secrets of China revealed, and what a stunning area it is, some 100 kilometers north of Beijing. As the riders behind are dropped, the peloton at the front continues to attack, and this is Team Sky here, and it looks to me as though it might well be Joe Dombrowski of Team Sky who's starting to move forward. The other rider possibly is Lopez, but this isn't Lopez. This looks like the slender figure of Joe Dombrowski, the American on the team for the first year. Well, they were talking about this rider being their candidate for victory, and he's living up to his reputation just now. Certainly Belkin are not going to object to him doing a little bit of the workload. This is Chris Butler, the USA. Also with him is Xi Cheng, who is the top Chinese cyclist. Pretty famous name here around Beijing, and he's ridden 2 Grand Tours, first Chinese rider to do that. All back together again, all looking around. Adam Hansen launches an attack, the man that nearly won the day yesterday. He's doing it again. Hansen is really putting in some weight today. Now, he's not a well-known climber, Hansen, but he is a very, very strong man. And maybe that's why they've let him go for the moment, because they know his reputation says he shouldn't be able to hold them off all the way to the summit. But then maybe they should know a little bit more about this rider. Pushes on, pedaling a very nice gear around the corners, all looking round to say, hey, who's going to take up the chase? And that's because of the speed they've climbed this hill. Those legs are beginning to get very tired back there. Hansen may have sensed that. There is a move though coming from Team BMC. Now this is onto the steepest part of the climb. Hansen just looking again, checking on the rider from BMC who is coming across the gap, and it might well be Matthias Frank, the Swiss rider, trying to reach him. The only other likely man it would be is Dominik Nertz, the German rider. It's one or the other of those two trying to get on, and he's caught him. Joe Dombrowski of Sky, third man on the road, the peloton now. Now this is it, the moment now when the strong men, the climbers, are leaving their teammates and trying to cross gaps. Very shortly now we are going to see a select group here at the front of the race. Hansen was the man who started it all, but can he control this group now as they start to consolidate ahead of him? You can see as they just kick up on that corner how steep the road has become at this point. But the established climbers are still not coming up here. We've not seen anything of Neil Martin. They're still waiting. And I can't believe that the small time bonuses at the top are still going to have a part to play in the Tour of Beijing when they're coming up a mountain like this. There's what's left of the front peloton of the Tour of Beijing. Hansen comes back into the pack, leaving those 3 riders there just. Big effort here by Dombrowski of Sky. I'm not too sure this is Dombrowski actually. Starting to look as though it might well be the other team member of Sky, Ian Boswell. Behind the sunglasses there, checks over where he is. Still that peloton thins out, another 3 riders unhitched. Well, they're playing this right down to the line today. And this BMC rider could well be Marco Pinotti as Jesus Herrera comes up behind. Movistar now back in the frame. Now Herrera is a very good climber, champion of Spain. Tried to get on terms. They've all seen him coming. They've tried to ease up and decide what they're going to do. Well, the tempo has brought them all back together again. Still the road continues to zigzag, still the long slopes ahead. Still a long way to go to the finish. As we go to the back of the race here now, it looks as though we've got a little bit of a problem for Adam Hansen, who was at the front. He now drops to the back. Another little tentative here. There's Team Radio Shack. They're putting in their marker. Move here by George Bennett, I think it is, from Team Radio Shack. Harada tried to get on contact with him, but also Team AG2R are taking an interest now. Well, this is a very fearsome attack by Radio Shack, and it's causing another stretching of what's left of the peloton. It's becoming a very select group of riders down there, maybe 20 left now. Tony Martin still here, which I'm a little bit surprised to see. Roy Acosta, the world champion, in the fourth wheel. Martin launched an attack at the 5 kilometre point to go. Decides not to do anything about it. Martin pulled across to the right. Costa, the world champion, still very much in this frame at the moment, and the hill is not breaking the riders up. The select strong men are all together. They've accelerated and desisted. Now we've got another attack here from the Sky team. David Lopez giving it a go. And a very determined attack it is too. He's being chased by Radio Shack, but he's opened a very big gap right at the start. Well, Sky was saying at the start that they had two men for the finish, and Lopez's name was on their lips. They weren't giving too much away. But this is a very, very good move now by Lopez. See how tough it is now at the back of this leading group as the riders continue to climb up here. Cedric Pinault is the rider struggling, a little bit surprised at that, but it's been such a fast climb. Seeing Boswell down there. Lopez has been joined down there by the Radio Shack rider. Now two riders going clear. This is a very, very determined move by Team Sky to win the race on the one day of cycling up the mountain. Lopez is not seeing this beautiful view we can show you from the temple itself here. They come right through the village down there, and that's pretty much where they are right now. But although they look pretty close, they've got to go right around the edge of the mountain here to climb up to where the commentary position is. Now this is the tough section of the course before they swing up towards the finishing line. Bacalance is the rider on Radio Tour, on the Radio Shack team, has just joined him, and he's been pretty active. He tried yesterday to get in the action as well. He's 20 seconds is the gap. That could be a manageable gap, because just take a look back now as Jan Bakelants, who's had his best ever season this year, yellow jersey in the Tour de France and a stage victory there. And now a counter-attack coming here from the main field. This was to be expected there, because they're losing control of those two up front. But if you just take a look down the line here now, you can see Michael Rogers is trying to get in on turns. Marco Panotti in red is tucked in there just behind him. Dan Martin is the other rider now. Jan Bakelants has gone forward here to give a hand in the pacemaking with David Lopez. Lopez will be pretty pleased about that, because he's done an awful lot of riding there. There's Michael Rogers on the far left of our road. This is looks like Panotti's going again. Dan Martin's after him now. The first time we've seen Martin attack. He's been just following wheels until now, but of course we're coming to the hot end of the climb. Bakelants taking a look at David Lopez, who's played his cards to try and move clear of the field, but Dan Martin has got to the front for Garmin Sharp. Now it's the Colombian rider Bentancur, who's also trying at 3 kilometers to go. He continues to climb. There's no respite all the way to the finish here. Lopez now is totally committed to try and win the Tour de Beijing in this one day of racing. Gap has come down again a little bit, 10 seconds the gap. I think Lopez is proving a little bit too strong here, but Dan Martin is crossing the gap for Garmin Sharp, and Martin having his best season as well. Winner of the oldest one-day classic in Liège-Bastogne-Liège, right out in April, a winner of a mountain stage of the Tour de France. He now joins the two leaders. Martin has joined them. Now they're going to reassess what they're doing here. Panotti also looks around. Roy Acosta is there as well. Matthias Frank is there. About 12 riders at the moment left in this race, and that is all, as Roy Acosta, the world champion, launches an attack. Martin is after him immediately. I don't think that's Bentancur in his slipstream now. I think it's Romain Bardet, the young Frenchman. So Costa goes, the world champion makes his move. Dan Martin is on his back wheel. Romain Bardet is looking there as well. Now, that was a good move by Costa, but it was monitored by Dan Martin, who doesn't really want to be first rider at the moment. As we see now, Romain Bardet in second place, just behind him. Well, these boys are establishing the pecking order, and now they're easing up again, because they know now they're all pretty equal in ability. It's a lot of riders still to be going up towards the finishing line together. Dan Martin having to keep the pressure on here. They don't want to let those riders behind rejoin, but I think they're going to. As somebody else moves up the outside, performs an attack from a very, very good position. This is Movistar, who's gone on now, and this will be Benoit in Southsteep, the rider who was in the break this morning and volunteered to drop back after getting a couple of seconds bonus at the first sprint. Now this is a very strong move indeed. He's the man that said every second counts at 2 kilometers to go. It could be a winning move, but is it? David Lopez is coming after him. Lopez continues to chase him down, but after the previous effort, has he got enough to do here as he continues on the climb? Well, this is his big move, as in Southsteep continues now to apply the pressure. Lopez is struggling, but he's clear of the chasers. Can he reach up now within Southsteep? Benya finding he's in the barrier line here now. He's looking for 1 kilometer to go, and then the clock will really start. And for him, this could be the beginning of an incredible victory for him. Has he got the legs to maintain all the way to the finish, where the climb now is at its steepest? as he drives up, looking for 1 kilometre to go now. Benya Insausti being chased by David Lopez. And also Romain Bardet, the young Frenchman, is in there as well. Bentancur is back in the group there, his teammate. Now this is going to be a very, very close finish here. David Lopez has tried and tried again. He's put all his attacks in place, but they haven't quite worked out at the moment. This is Benya Insausti. Movistar had their plan all week, and they've always said that this race would be decided here and could still be a matter of seconds. How right they were from the group that's chasing this rider. Totally determined attack by Benya Insausti. Lopez has been picked up on the run-in, and he's been picked up first of all by Romain Bardet. No, he's not. It's Rui Costa who's got through in third place, the world champion, performing well on the climb. Well, he won't be chasing this man because he's his teammate, albeit for the last time, as Rui Costa will change teams next year. 1 kilometre to go to the summit. There's still a 10-second time bonus for the winner, plus the real time gap that will come. As they continue to try and reach the gap, this is still Lopez, Dan Martin, Rui Costa chasing them up the mountain. Has he saved something just for the finish? Because there's no respite all the way to the finishing line here. Rui Costa knows that the second gaps tonight will be the second gaps tomorrow night. There'll be not any opportunity on the final flat stage to recover. So he needs to close this down. And he needs to close it down quickly, and Insausti knows this. He can't have a lot left in the tank, but it means the difference between win and lose tomorrow in Beijing. That much he certainly knows. He's coming up to the last 500 metres of the stage. It will climb all the way to the finish. He's trying to take the shortest route to the temple. And he's still finding the strength to sprint up this hill here. And Rui Costa, his teammate, and they're coming up on him, you know. Well, Rui Costa chased a teammate down in the World Championship, Rodriguez, and beat him to the line. Is the world champion going to do it again here? 300 metres to go. It should be enough. And Dan Martin, last desperate efforts by the Irishman to close down the gap and just hold the seconds. I don't think Lopez has got any more left. Dan Martin, is he going to reach now? Insausti on the climb. Incredible sprint towards the line, and Insausti is hanging on as he comes around the corner. Desperate moments here as Martin gets onto his back wheel as he comes round the corner. I think Insausti might just hang on, and he does. He gets the first place as there's just a few seconds gap to Dan Martin. Then follows Lopez, followed by Rui Costa, the world champion. Romain Bardet comes over the line after that. An incredible performance by Insausti. A very intelligent ride as well, because he went with the breakaway right at the start of the day, took the 3-second time bonus. Just how important is that turning out to be now? Added to his 10 seconds, he's gained 13 seconds in bonus on the day, plus a couple of seconds gap as well over his nearest finisher in Neil Martin. And that will give him the race leader's red jersey and should assure him of victory tomorrow in Beijing. There is a little matter of covering the last stage, of course, but it is flat, and the opportunities now are limited for the riders to attack. Well, everybody's going to be pretty pleased on the Movistar team tonight. Rui Costa, the world champion, lived up to his reputation as well. He'll be happy enough with a 4th place finish. 5th place, Romain Bardet, this promising run Frenchman, timed at 11 seconds behind. Tony Martin just does not want to lose the title at the Tour of Beijing. He's held for the past 2 years because he came home there in 6th place today. Incredibly quick time up the mountain. Benya Insausti is the man who has won perfectly laid plans. teamwork done to perfection. Long attack by Gutierrez. Then the counter-attacks coming, particularly from Jesus Herrera. And then he made his move and took his chance, and it worked. Well, that will be only his second win of the season for Insausti. The big win was a great day out when he held the lead for one day. He had his finest ever Tour of Italy this year. And he won the 16th stage as well as held the lead for one day in the race. Now he set himself up for a likely win here overall. There's Michael Rogers. Made the effort, wasn't able to make it quite work out. There's the young Roman Bardet, who's become quite a star of French cycling throughout the year. An incredibly good Tour de France and a very, very good Tour of Spain this year. Well, the Tour de France, he was 15th overall in the Tour de France this year, which is very solid for him, and he's still only 22 years of age. So the French will look to him to ride well in the upcoming Tour de France's in the years ahead. Over 3.5 minutes tick by at the moment. Christophe Reblon coming in. Takes a look to see if we can see who's won the stage, hoping it would be Bardet, but it isn't. It is Beñat Insausti. All the riders continue to finish here. The white jersey here being worn for the last time, I have to say, there by Alexei Zatchevich. Let's have a look at the result of the stage first of all. Insausti getting the victory today. Dan Martin almost sprinting to it, just 3 seconds behind him. David Lopez, world champion, in 4th place. Romain Bardet, the young superstar of French cycling, 5th. Tony Martin, the defending champion, in 6th. Jan Bekelants did well to hang on for 7th in the end. Robert Hessink in 8th. Basso 9th, his teammate, and Matthias Frank, won't be too happy with that, crossing the line 18 seconds back in 10th place. First 10 riders over the line, and it should pretty much replicate the situation in the overall classification. This is our view here of the Miao Fang Temple, and this is the view that the temple had of the finishing sprint. He really made a desperate lunge to try and catch Insausti, but Insausti saved the best till the end. Martin realised about 50 metres from the line he was not going to catch up. Second victory of the year. He did well. He sprinted virtually all the way up this climb, quite often out of the saddle. So the Spanish Movistar team are going to be pretty happy with the performance today. It's only his 4th victory since he turned professional back in 2007. He's a very good stage race rider. He's finished 10th in the Vuelta de España before now, and he was 7th in this year's Giro d'Italia, which was held in atrocious conditions. There is the temple, and there is the view off the summit. As I say, there are trails through the mountains, but you are strongly advised to walk in company with other people because you can get lost up there. The Miao Fang Temple. Now here is the overall situation going into the final day, and Insausti now has a 10-second lead over the defending champion, over Daniel Martin, rather, who finished 2nd today. Defending champion Tony Martin down there in 6th place. Virtually a copy of the result of the stage as we expected, with the small time gaps at the start of the day. Lopez is up to 3rd, Costa is in at 4th, Bardet 5th. Jan Bekelants in 7th. and Yves Ambassadeur in 9th place. Robert Hessink in 8th. But the gaps have opened now. A 10-second gap to Dan Martin. There is, of course, a 10-second win bonus tomorrow, but it should be for the sprinters. So Dan Martin might be looking for a breakaway tomorrow. There are the small time bonus sprints as well, which always carry 3 seconds, 2 seconds and 1 second. But if all goes according to plan for the professional cycling world, Benya in Saudi knows that his Movistar team tomorrow will look to disrupt anything that tries to take place on the finishing circuit, which is 12 laps based outside the famous Bird's Nest Stadium and the Water Cube in the Olympic Park in Beijing itself. Well, the mountain, hard as it was, it just showed even at the end of a long season there was a lot of bike riders there still with strong legs to control each other. This man coming through a season which began in January and still finding terrific stamina to hold off the advancing Dan Martin, who really did give it a real run for his money. Big moment, only the 4th time we've seen that Victor Sloot in his career. Well, we very often call the last group on the road the laughing group, and I guess this is why, because they're all enjoying seeing the finish at last. For them, their job was done at the start of the climb after their hard work was finished, coming up over 8 minutes behind. It'll be over 9 by the time they get under the banner. But they live to fight another day, primarily the last day of the Tour of Beijing tomorrow in the city itself. Starting outside of the Forbidden City, we'll see all of the famous landmarks that make Beijing such a famous city in the world. Its ancient history will abound tomorrow as we race towards the modern buildings which are situated in the Olympic Park. There's still another big peloton there toiling its way up the mountain. Neil Martin now poised. Neil Martin, by the way, was the Dan Martin was the king of the mountains in the race last year, and it now looks as though he might be set fair to finish 2nd overall this time around. King of the mountains this year is going to be Damiano Caruso. Didn't score on the last climb, but he didn't need to. He'd made all his points yesterday on the early part of today's stage. And I'm not pretty sure that the red jersey of Nasser Bouhanni is down in that group there, because a number of his teammates are there, just getting him home. He'll have lost his lead also in the best young rider competition, but on the other hand he might well and should be still in charge of the green points jersey competition. So let's have a look once again then. The general ranking. I couldn't hear a word he was saying there, but I hope you could at home, as in Southsea now gets ready to receive the red jersey as leader with 1 day to go. Dan Martin in second place overall. David Lopez, he was the secret weapon for Sky, and he came up trumps. He finishes third on the day, third overall now. Rui Alberto Costa has seen his teammate take red, so he'll be happy enough as he sits in fourth place overall as world champion. As Luke Durbridge comes up here with a small group of 5. 12 minutes already passed by on the clock at the finishing line, but no danger of elimination today.
A call for Roman Bardet. Roman Bardet to the presentation, please. Roman Bardet to the presentation, please.
Now who'll be the
Damiano
best young
Caruso
rider
to the presentation, and Jose Gutierrez to the presentation, please. Roman Bardet to the presentation as soon as possible, please.
100 metres to go for these boys as they head up towards 13 minutes since we saw the sprint for first place. So they
Roman
come
Bardet to the presentation area, please.
Heads them over the line, and just behind,
Jose
alongside him,
Ivan
is
Gutierrez
countryman,
to the
but not teammate,
presentation,
Steele
please.
von Hoff of
Zhao
Gone
Pengda to the presentation, please.
This is the overall point situation. Well, Nasser Bouhanni has managed to keep the lead in one of his 3 competitions at least. He lost red, he's lost white, but he's kept green for tomorrow, and we swing back to his advantage tomorrow. He'll be going hunting for his 3rd stage win. He's only 7 points cleared of Michael Matthews, so they're still going head to head in that green jersey race. That's all down to the last stage. In the mountains, this is finished, and Damiano Caruso is the king of the mountains of the Tour of Beijing 2013, ahead of Wesley Sulzberger. Gutierrez, with his riding today, climbed up into 3rd place overall.
Just to let you know, the
and
time
Chad
cut
Bayer
today
dropped down
that
to
the riders
4.
have to be inside is 33 minutes 31 seconds. The time cut today
in the white jersey competition, Romain Bardet is the new leader here, and he's got a 7-second advantage over Gary Coitz Bravo from Euskaltel Euskadi, and Carlos Bentico, the Colombian on Team AG2R, up there in 3rd place as well. So the rising star from France has got himself a leader's jersey for the last day. That goes to the best young rider in the race, highest in the overall classification as of the finish tomorrow. You may have heard there the announcer saying that the time cut is 33 minutes today, based on the winner's time. It's a percentage of the winner's time. Any rider who finishes 33 minutes late will be eliminated from the race. So currently it's coming up 15 minutes, so shouldn't be a problem. And we're just waiting now to show you the prize presentation on these live pictures. Unprecedented pictures coming from the top of a mountain
stage of the Tour of Beijing.
Outskirts of the city of Beijing. We're about 120 kilometers at the most, maybe less, 100 kilometers or so from the centre of the city.
The time cut that the riders have to make today is a percentage of the winner's time, and that delay is 33 minutes and 31 seconds.
是的，那么由于我们今天第4赛段的难度系数较高，所以我们今天的关门时间是设于在33分钟以后。所有的车手必须在33分钟以内到达终点。
as he comes in. And tomorrow, as I said, the terrain favours him. It's very flat, and he's proving to be the best sprinter. Michael Matthews in this group with him, his arch rival in the race for the green jersey, which Bouhanni will wear tomorrow, as they all come up the mountain together, waving the Chinese flag as they top the mountain here at Miaofeng. This is a big bunch, but they're going to be well inside, about 17 minutes by the time they come over the line, and they're leaving the red jersey to bring them home. For 2 days, the leader of the Tour of Beijing. Always a big relief when you get in and see that the clock is still showing on the gantry, because that means you're not eliminated. It'll turn to black when it doesn't want you to come in and you are eliminated. And it says 16 minutes 40 seconds, so they're well inside.
Nasser Buhani to the presentation as soon as arrival.
That's who we're waiting for.
Caruso to the presentation.
Nasser Buhani to finish the stage so we can start the prize presentation and then we'll be around the back very quickly. Last 2 days he has come up for 3 jerseys. Now there's our camera position on the right, which is showing you those beautiful views of the mountains today, because thanks to the hard labour of Chinese television, they had to carry all this equipment from where the vans were parked right up the mountain to make this on top of the temple. And I think our helicopter might show you the view that cameraman was getting. So we're just doing another interview for you, so let's see who we've got now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be bringing you the presentation of today's stage of the Tour of Beijing in just a few moments' time.
现场的各位观众朋友们、女士们、先生们，2013年环北京职业公路自行车赛第4赛段的现场颁奖仪式马上就要开始，敬请大家的期待。
Ladies and gentlemen, we're now ready for the presentation of Stage 4 of the Tour of Beijing.
女士们、先生们，2013年环北京职业公路自行车赛第4赛段的颁奖仪式现在开始。
So let's look at the Mifeng Temple as we now go down to the presentation. Let's pick up Anthony
From
McCross.
Yanqing to Mentaogao Miaofeng Mountain to present the awards. We welcome Mr. Chen Guotai, Deputy District Mayor of Mentaogao District, and Mr. Bernie Stephan, the Vice President of Nestle China.
首先，我们要颁发的是第4赛段赛段冠军。下面欢迎颁奖嘉宾北京市门头沟区委常委、常务副区长陈国才先生，以及雀巢中国副总裁伯尼斯蒂芬先生。
And the winner of Stage 4 of the Tour of Beijing, the first ever summit finish on this race. Please welcome, riding for Movistar, Bernat Incausti.
获得今天第4赛段冠军的是来自移动自行车队的切尔斯蒂。下面有请陈国才先生为车手颁发奖牌。
And we present the stage winner with a special plate and
Well,
also the
Movistar planned
mascot
it for the
and
day.
special
It's all worked
gifts.
out perfectly for Benya.
下面有请伯尼斯蒂芬先生为车手颁发吉祥物以及特色奖品。
With it will come a red jersey, and tomorrow should come victory in the Tour of Beijing.
好的，同时有请颁奖嘉宾与获奖车手合影留念。
And as normal, we ask our presenters to stand either side of the winner. Ladies and gentlemen, the stage winner of today's Tour of Beijing, riding for Movistar, Bernat Incausti.
赛段冠军，移动自行车队切尔斯蒂。
Thank you very much to our presenters and to Bernat Incausti, the stage winner of today's Tour of Beijing. Well, each day we present the red jersey for the race leader. We're 4 stages in now. Tomorrow is the final stage. It was all about the showdown on the mountain today. To present the awards, please welcome Mr. Alan Rumpf, Director of Global Cycling Promotion, and Mr. Du Weidong, General Manager of Jiacru, to the stage.
下面要颁发的是个人总成绩第1名。 下面欢迎颁奖嘉宾全球自行车推广中心主任阿兰·罗菲先生，以及捷酷北京体育服装有限公司总经理杜卫东先生。
And now the leader of the Tour of Beijing after 4 stages, riding for Movistar, Bernat Inchalsti.
目前为止经历了4个赛段，目前为止个人总成绩排名第1的依然是来自移动自行车队的切尔斯蒂。
They knew it was the decisive day. They always did. They were expecting the race to split yesterday. It didn't. Those 2 days was expected to be for the sprinters. It was. But they knew the winner tonight here on the mountain would likely win this tour tomorrow in Beijing. And Inchalsti had a plan. He went away with the early move. He grabbed a 3-second time bonus. He did that because he believed second would always count in this race. And then he went back to the peloton and waited till the final mountain to
Ladies
move
and
again.
gentlemen, the leader of the Tour of Beijing, please put your hands together for the Movistar rider, Bernat Inchalsti.
把掌声和祝贺送给个人总成绩第1名红衫获得者移动自行车队切尔斯蒂。
Thank you very much to our presenters. Thank you very much to Bernat. He is now the leader of this race. And he'll just get the photographs quickly. He's now the leader of this race with 1 flat stage left to go.
是的，那么身着红衫也就意味着他目前个人总成绩排名第1名。
We now move on to the green jersey, which is presented to the leader of the race on points.
接下来颁发的是冲刺王绿衫荣誉。
And to present the awards, we welcome Mr. Peng Li Feng, Communications Director of Mentawgao District, and Mr. Wu Ya Mu, General Manager of UCC.
欢迎颁奖嘉宾北京市门头沟区委常委、宣传部长彭立峰先生以及 UCC 环球自行车总经理吴亚谋先生，欢迎。
And the leader of the points classification, being presented with the green jersey with 1 stage to go. Please welcome double stage winner from FDJ, Nasser Bouhanni.
获得今天冲刺王荣誉的也是我们第2以及第3赛段的赛段冠军，来自博彩车队的博汉尼。下面有请彭立峰先生为博汉尼颁发绿色领旗衫。
green jersey of points. It still goes head to head with Michael Matthews on the last stage tomorrow. So far, Bouhanni's proved to be the faster of the 2.
下面有请吴亚
See
谋
how he
先生
makes
为
out
获奖车手颁
tomorrow.
发吉
Certainly
祥
not
物
a
以
done
及
deal
特
for
色
him
奖品。
yet.
We'll ask our presenters to stand either side of him as usual and get the photographs. The green jersey wearer with 1 stage to go, Nasser Bouhanni.
再次把掌声送给大赢家，来自博彩车队的博汉尼。
Thank you very much to our presenters. Thank you to Nasser. Each day we present the leading Chinese rider of the Tour of Beijing.
接下来要颁发的是康比特领先中国骑手。
To present the awards, we welcome Ms. Li Xin, Deputy District Mayor of Mentawgao District, and Ms. Li Wen, Deputy Manager of Jiakru.
欢迎颁奖嘉宾北京市门头沟区副区长李欣女士以及捷酷北京体育服装有限公司副总经理李文女士，欢迎。
And please welcome now the leading Chinese rider after 4 stages, riding for Champion Systems, Zhao Pengda.
获得康比特领先中国骑手的是来自卓比奥斯车队的中国骑手焦鹏达。下面有请李欣女士为焦鹏达颁发
Was the
奖牌。
best Chinese rider in this race last year overall by the end of it, and is currently the best leading rider in
下
it
面有
with
请
1 day
李
to
文
go.
女士为焦鹏达颁发吉祥物以及特色奖品。
Xiao Pengda,
同时
27
也有
years of
请颁
age.
奖嘉宾与获奖车手合影留念。
The leading Chinese rider after 4 stages from Champion System, Zhao Pengda.
再次把最热烈的掌声送给领先中国骑手焦鹏达。
Each each day we also award the most aggressive rider of the stage. To present the awards, we welcome Mr. Lee Jin Kang.
Now, the most aggressive riding stage is the man judged to be the big attacker of the day. For the first 3 days of this race, it was always riders from Lotto Bellassol. Today, I think it'll be a rider from Movistar.
欢迎颁奖嘉宾，北京市体育局副局长李进康先生以及深圳瑞净斯伯特商贸有限公司全球营销总监李黎峰女士，欢迎。
The most aggressive rider on today's stage, riding for Movistar. Please welcome Jose Ivan Gutierrez.
获得今天福田汽车感斗奖的是来自移动自行车队的古蒂瑞斯。下面有请李进康先生为获奖车手颁发奖牌。
voted the most aggressive rider today. He was in the breakaway all day, went forward at the start with his teammate who won the stage, Tausti. Stayed there to keep the pressure on the peloton, fell back on the mountain.
好的，下面有请颁奖嘉宾与获奖车手合影留念。
The most aggressive rider today from Movistar, Jose Ivan Gutierrez.
感斗奖获得者来自移动自行车队的古蒂瑞斯。
Thank you very much to our presenters and to Jose Gutierrez, the most aggressive rider of today. The king of the mountains, the polka dot jersey is now to be presented, and we welcome Mr. Luke.
King of the Mountains next. This is the one competition which ended today, so it'll be a winner's jersey for this rider. Tomorrow we'll see him win the competition officially. Then, no mountains in Beijing tomorrow.
And the leader, and now the winner of the King of the Mountains, after 4 stages, riding for Cannondale, Damiano Caruso.
Celebrated his 26th birthday 2 days ago, took the lead the day after. Old age obviously suits him.
So we present him with the polka dot jersey. Tomorrow is a flat stage. He is now the winner of the King of the Mountains of the 2013 Tour of Beijing.
下面有请陈永畅先生为获奖车手颁发吉祥物及特色奖品。卡鲁索也是在昨天的比赛当中也夺得了爬坡王的荣誉。那么他今天成功的保住了他的原点衫。下面有请颁奖嘉宾与获奖车手合影留念。
So we'll ask our presenters to stand either side of them. And the winner of the King of the Mountains, Damiano Caruso of Cannondale.
爬坡王加能戴尔车队的卡鲁索再次祝贺。
Thank you very much to our
3 leaders
presenters.
in that
Thank you
competition
very much
before we
to
found Caruso
Damiano
as the
again.
winner.
As we move on now to the white jersey, and we welcome Mr. Du Wei Dong, the General Manager of Jiakru, and Mr. Alan Rumpf, the Director of Global Cycling Promotion.
接下来要颁发的是新人王荣誉，欢迎颁奖嘉宾捷库北京体育服装有限公司总经理杜卫东先生以及全球自行车推广中心主任阿兰罗菲先生。
And the white jersey for the best young rider is presented now to the rider from AG Douai Le Mondial, Roman Bardet.
获得第4赛段新人王白衫荣誉的是来自 AG2 车队的巴代。下面有请杜卫东先生为获奖车手颁发白色领旗衫。
Taking the lead at the crucial time today, will defend this tomorrow.
To tomorrow's final
15th in his first crack at the Tour de France, just 22 years of age. Winner of the Tour de l'Avenir last year, which is known as the precursor to the Tour de France. The Tour of the Future is its literal translation. Roman Bardet really is carrying a lot of hopes as France that one day he will be the next winner of the Tour de France. The last one was Bernard Hinault back in 1985.
Thank you very much to our presenters. Thank you very much to Roman. Each day, ladies and gentlemen, we have one final presentation.
Now we'll see them all back on stage and all the jerseys being worn today, as they've all got different leaders now. For the first time in 4 days of cycling, they'll get the champagne and then they'll have about an hour and a half to drive back to their hotel in the centre of Beijing. They'll be in the shadow of the Bird's Nest Stadium and the Water Cube, and it's there where tomorrow they'll finish this race in its 3rd year.
Mr. Lin Chin Shi, President of UCC, and Mr. Du Wei Dong, the General
Champagne
Manager
is
of
ready.
Crew. Please welcome back now your award winners today. The red jersey, the leader of the Tour of Beijing, riding for Movistar, Benatin Chausti. The green jersey from FDJ, Nasser Buhani. The leading Chinese rider, Chao Pung Da. The most aggressive rider of the day, Jose Gutierrez. The king of the mountains, Damiano Caruso. And the white jersey, Roman Bardet.
好的，下面有请颁奖嘉宾为这6名车手颁发香槟。
And we'll ask them now to be presented with the champagne. So we'll present them with the champagne and we'll ask them to step forward on the stage, guys. Please step forward into the middle of the stage and we'll present you with the champagne one by one. And get ready, because any moment now they'll shake the champagne.
Xiaoping Da from Champion System, sadly a team that's leaving the sport at the end of the year. We're looking for a new sponsor here in Asia.
那么有请颁奖嘉宾颁发完香槟之后退场。
Caruso, this is one of congratulations. He only has to finish the stage tomorrow to be crowned the winner of the King of the Mountains. Bardet, still a little fight on his hands for that white jersey, so too is the green jersey, but the red jersey should be safe now by the end of tomorrow for Insausti. Well, our camera's in amongst the champagne here now, so stand by. We may not see them shortly. So there they are. As they step off stage, we will say goodbye to you with our coverage here today of the 4th stage, the first time that the Tour of Beijing has ever finished up one of the mountains that abound here outside of Beijing, and a very, very successful day of racing it was as well. Tomorrow it will all come to a close. The end of the World Tour will finish in Beijing itself, where we see the famous sites of this ancient and modern capital of the People's Republic of China. So until tomorrow and the grand finale, I'm Phil Liggett. I'm saying goodbye to you now, but I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.
我们所有的观众朋友们，我们明天再见。